we've been trying to grow the sport of triathlon, we meaning the triathlon community, and also like trail running, and that community is blowing up. And
it's merging. The two are merging.
Oh, and I love
together.
that. I love that, the triathletes are getting on the trails, and trail runners are getting into wetsuits. And I think it's fabulous. Why? Why do I think it's fabulous? Because people are going after things in their life. They're setting a goal and they're showing up in whatever way that is. I may show up differently than somebody else. Well, I will, and they'll show up differently than me. But it's allowing people to see what is possible and test their limits, and that's amazing. So for me, growth is great, and that's what we're here to do. We're here to grow and expand. And so let go of how you think it should happen, because the only one that's suffering is you.
Yeah, I think it goes hand in hand with longevity and health. And if you trash yourself running and chasing numbers in ultra running that you're not prepared for because you believe you need to run that in order to achieve success at the race, then you're increasing the possibility that the wear and tear in your body is really going to show up quickly and could be detrimental to race day. So someone like you is in 30 miles. Yeah, we probably want to get to 35, maybe 40 once or twice, but your sweet spot is really 25 to 35 miles an hour. That'd be awesome. 25 to 35 miles a week, and then riding 50 to 100 miles in addition to that. So that's where your sweet spot is. It could be just different for somebody else. But yeah, I know that cycling is super beneficial for the health and longevity of an ultra runner.
Hey, Yogi Triathlete community. We are Jess and Beej, and welcome to the April O Show. This is our open and honest show where we just share. Sometimes you send us questions. Most of the time you don't. And we just share anyway. So thanks for tuning in. We do hear that some people say it's their favorite show. I know it's like my favorite because I get to spend time with you, Beej, like just an hour talking. I think that every couple should have a couple microphones, whether they publish it or not, but just to sit across from each other and have a conversation it's pretty special. It's really cool to take time out of your day to do that. And it's not surface talk, which I just can't stomach anymore. And so here we are. We've got some good topics to dive into today, as we're always ebbing and flowing with life. And I feel like right now we're in a flow. Are you in an ebb or a flow?
I'm in flow.
Are you?
I'm in flow. Oh, baby. Watch out. Yeah, I feel flow.
Yeah, I feel flow. I've already had, so first of all, it's 9:30 in the morning, and we typically record this show on a Thursday after we've swam, and we're not drinking coffee. You do some afternoon coffee sometimes, but we've got a nice cup of Costa Rican coffee. And it's 9:30 in the morning, and I've already had a day. I've already had like a full day up, and it's 9:30 in the morning, and it's just amazing. So I am also in flow.
Well, why is it so important to mention the Costa Rican coffee?
Okay, let's dive into one of our topics. So I always love and then I secretly am like, when we have somebody in our community that asks us, or me specifically, I won't speak for you, to walk their talk. So we are drinking Costa Rican coffee because on May 4th, I leave for Liberia, Costa Rica, and then I'll be making my way down to the Nicoya Peninsula to host a yoga retreat at Blue Spirit, which is a retreat center in Nosara, Costa Rica, and I'll be there for 1 week. So the retreat is from the 7th to the 14th, but I'm meeting my co-hosts, Megan Layton and Valerie Griffiths, both who have been on the podcast. We have an amazing, amazing group of people. I think there's 20 or 21 of us total right now that are going to be on this retreat. And we went last year, and with just so many uncertain circumstances in the world, there was six six guests we had, and then the three of us, so we had 9 of us, and we had such a special experience back then. I thought it was once in a lifetime, and I still think that it was just a once in a lifetime experience where we had the entire retreat center to ourselves because all the other retreats had canceled except for us. And we let our yes be yes, and that's really important. And, it cost us money to go, and we were so blessed to be able to pay our way and just be in service, like truly just be in service. And of course, there was great rewards with that. Just the experience we had was beyond what I could have imagined. And now we're going back, and we've got a pretty big group. And so that's cool. And you're going to be coming down too. So the retreat is over on the 14th. And then I had originally planned to stay until the 18th because I was feeling I was going to have an adventure. And I didn't know what that adventure was going to be. I thought it was maybe going to go down, reach out to Jackson Foster, who we've had on the show, and go down to his permaculture fruit farm, which was about 5 hours south of where I was going to be. But turns out it is going to be about 5 hours inland in San Jose, Costa Rica, where I am going to meet you. I'll be going a day late, but we're going to be joining the Pura Vida cycling camp through Jennifer Volman and Dan Casey. And Jennifer has been a longtime listener and supporter of Yogi Triathlete. She's well known in the triathlon community. She's world champs qualifier, and she's a coach and a wonderful, beautiful woman on the inside and out. I've gotten to know her pretty well over these last few months. And we are going to join them for this cycling camp, which is insane because it's so out of my league. It's so out of my league. So we are drinking Costa Rican coffee because we're getting prepped for Costa Rican coffee.
Lots of coffee. And I'll be racing St. George World Championships May 7th with Clark. Clark and I will be up there. So if anybody wants to come and say hi, let us know. Just look for Clark. But I'll be coming home from that and then taking a flight to Costa Rica. So I'm not going to get much rest, probably 3 or 4 days. And then we'll be hitting this bike adventure, which looks pretty. The schedule is on the website. It looks really legit, like some elevation climbing. I don't think any ride is shorter than 50 miles
or under 5,000 feet.
I think there's like a 9 or 10,000 foot climbing
There's
day.
one day that's 10,000 feet of climbing, and I think that's the day that I'll be traveling there. I'm like, pray to God. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's so far out of my comfort zone physically. I think emotionally, mentally, spiritually, like it's everything that I crave in life. And so, the limitless part of me is like, oh yeah, here we go, adventure, like can't wait to see what manifests. And the physical part, which is not our limitless part, right? Like the body is going to decay and all this other amazing things that happen to this temple that we live in. Eventually it will crumble. We'll see, and I keep going back to Sally McRae that we had on the pod. Well, 2 podcast guests, Sally McRae, number 1, who talks about like, so what if I go and I totally fail, right? What's going to happen? What happens? Like I've entertained some worst case scenarios. Like it sounds like the pitch of these climbs is insane. And, so what's the worst that happens? Like I can't unclip and I fall over. Okay. Well, I've done that before. Okay. I'm not able to complete the ride. I have to get off the bike and walk it up. Like, I don't know. I mean, so what I'm getting at with Sally was like, that's just my pride. That's just pride. So that's not a big deal.
How it unfolds is really not any of our business.
Yeah.
It's going to serve up exactly what we need.
And then the other podcast guest was Ashley Winchester that we just had on.
Say that one. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And she was talking about like just setting goals that you're like, I don't know if I can do this. And it was almost in tandem where we're talking to Ashley and then had a phone call with Jennifer. And, like we couldn't, as we're talking to her on Zoom, I'm just like, we can't say no, but we had to just kind of marinate in the logistics and, come on, I'm already going to be in Costa Rica. I'm going to be in Costa Rica. And I had already planned to have an adventure. And then because I wasn't like putting down hard plans, the adventure came to me. It came and found me.
And then you're like roping me in. But I'm actually super stoked about it. I think it's a challenge. And Jennifer's going to be there with me in St. George racing. So we're both going to be in the same pool of uncertainty as to how this is all going to play out.
And it's so horrible because my ego just wants you guys to be exhausted to level the playing field. Because I think there's like pro cyclists that go on this thing. It's just going to be, it's going to be comical and empowering and challenging and rewarding and community. And, originally you were going to come on this retreat. Originally you were going to come
to Costa retreat.
Yeah, originally you were going to come to Costa Rica. And then when St. George was announced, you were like, oh, I want to do it. So of course you do it, right? I'm not going to be like, you have to come to the yoga retreat. But there was this part of me that was like, oh, that was so weird. I really thought you were going to be in Costa Rica with me. It was like when we bought that house in Newport and we were negotiating the deal and we gave them our best and final and they didn't accept it and we had to walk away. And I was like, that's so weird because I really felt like that was our house. And then they ended up coming back to us a couple days later and was like, we accept your deal. And I was like, that's what I was feeling. And so I had been feeling that you were going to be in Costa Rica with me and then just, letting that go, obviously, but being like, that's so weird. I really thought he was going to be there. And now you're going to be in Costa Rica with me.
It's funny how it all just plays out. But you can feel, or at least I'll speak for myself, where I was like, I don't know, like I'm coming off a big spring already. I'm doing an Ironman, and now I'm going to go into like just no easy bike tour. Like I'm going to be climbing a lot. My legs are going to be toast. They're going to be fit for sure, but they're going to be toast. Or who knows? We'll see in that experience. But I felt that like, do I really need to go? Like, what is this all about? And then it quickly turns to curiosity of like, is this something I can do? Because if there's a little ounce of doubt that, oh, man, I don't know if I can do this, then that really attracts me. I want to be in that and be in that experience. But I don't have any trepidation as to what happens during the tour. Like if I can't do a ride, that's fine. I'm totally cool with it. Or if I can do the ride, great. Or if I need to walk or sit out a day, I'm totally cool with it. Like to me, that my relationship with it is like, we'll just see what happens day after day. I have no agenda or no tight grip on the agenda. I just want to have an experience and be in Costa Rica, which I've never been to before. And let's loop it back around. I want to be drinking a lot of Costa Rican coffee, God, lots of coffee.
So
I actually might fuel with coffee in my water bottles.
There you go.
I might want to give that a try. If anybody's done that, let me know. Be sipping through a sippy goo water bottle with coffee in it.
And I have a feeling we're going to be drinking coconut water right out of the coconut.
Fruit, lots of fruit.
Yeah, lots of fruit. And yeah, so I'm so excited to share this experience with you. When I went to Costa Rica last year, we've always had a dream of living kind of like in this jungle environment. We always thought it was Kauai, but I have to tell you, when I went to Costa Rica last year, I was like, oh, maybe it's this jungle. And now you're going to have an opportunity to be in that jungle. We won't be by the coast, but, we live by the ocean.
And I don't feel this is the only time I'll be down there.
No, I don't either.
Back to your retreat, is it totally sold out? So if somebody wanted to get in on...
No, well, yes and no. So yes, it is. All the rooms are full, but we have an opportunity for one shared room. So there's a woman who got a room that comes with 2 beds. And after she booked it, she was like, I'm totally open to having somebody come. So there is an opportunity for a shared room. It's an eco cottage, which are these super cool cottages in the jungle. Like they're definitely like in the middle of the jungle. I mean, all of them are, but like they're really, really cool. And Val and I were touring around there last year, just getting the lay of the land for this year. And the ones that I saw all came with private bathrooms, and it's super affordable. I think these eco cottages are really affordable. And so we'll put a link to that in the show notes, but also that is linked up in my Instagram bio, the link in the bio. And you can just look at that. It will say sold out on the website, but you just reach out to us because there is somebody who's looking to share a room. And then the other thing is that, if somebody wants to go, they don't want to share a room, just let us know and we'll ask Blue Spirit if they have a room. Because every time we check in with them, because this has happened a couple times now, we literally just signed another person on because they were like, I want to come, but you guys are sold out. So we asked Blue Spirit and they were like, yeah, we have this room. And they were like, perfect, I'll take it. So there's always a way. And
if Costa Rica doesn't work out, you've got the retreat in Maui.
Maui.
So if you're like, I want to participate in this retreat or be with Valerie, Meg, and Jess, like be in that experience, and you're trying to force it into this timeline, and it's not working. Like think about October when we go to Maui. So because we're going to Maui, the retreat's before Kona World Championships. So you'll be down there. I'll come down and meet you. No, we're flying together. Yeah, we're flying together to Maui. You're going to be doing the retreat. I'm going to stay there for a few days and train, and then I'm going to head over to the island a little bit early before you. Over to Kona, and you're going to be finishing up the retreat and then coming over. So think about that. Think about going to Maui. I think that'd be pretty cool. And then come and spectate and watch the Ironman World Championships, which for the first time there'll be 2 separate days.
So this is really why I requested with the other ladies to have this retreat so close to Kona, because it's ideal. You guys come on the retreat. Starts on September 28th. We've made it a little bit shorter. It's 5 nights, I believe, 5 nights, 6 days. And at Lumeria Retreat Center, which is on the North Shore near Paella. It's about 3 miles inland from Paella. And come on the retreat and then hop a plane over to Kona and come spectate the World Championship. So that's kind of was my vision for this retreat, to allow athletes to come and have this retreat experience and then hop over and spectate Kona and, just invest in that type of adventure for yourself. Yeah.
And being the energy.
Because you're worth it. Oh my God, You're so worth it. And, this doing this cycling camp and, it involves some logistics. I had to change the airport of where I'm departing. I had to extend it another day. I need to get transport from, Nosara into San Jose. So there's logistics that need to be there. But that was absolutely zero reason to say no to this. And also, just live now. That is so in the forefront of my mind. And that is a legacy that our friend Mary has left for me that I think about all the time. Our friend who passed in February of 2021, live now. Live now. Don't, I'll do it in the future. I can't do it because I've got this barbecue or this, baptism. Or do what you want to do in this life. Fulfill your desires. It is why you are here. And our ability to manifest is a gift from the universe to ensure that we have fun along the way, because there's so much challenge in this life. So if this is something that speaks to you, they're like, oh my God, I could do this yoga retreat and then I could go to the World Championship. What? That's going to cost money. I'm going to have to take time off from work. I'm going to have to get dog care or kid care or whatever care. Don't let the logistics dictate your answer. Live now, live now. And so that's just one of the beautiful legacies that our friend has left for me that I think about often. And that was a factor that went into this, deciding to go to this camp, because it's totally out of my league. Yeah, there was some logistics, a little bit of money to change the flight. We got to get somebody to take care of Clark.
Yeah, Clark is with us most often, so.
And I just had her in my mind, how she would get so go. Yeah, I could just see her with the big eye, her eyes getting big, go. And what would I say to somebody that came to me and said, oh my gosh, I'm thinking about going to cycling camp. It's totally out of my league. It's going to do logistics. It's going to cost a little bit of blah, 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 blah. I'd be like, go. So how can I say go to somebody else and say no to myself?
Yeah, it really actually
can't do that.
You said at the beginning, asks us to walk the walk.
Yeah. So how is my coach? How is my training shifted for this. I've got an ultra in 2 weeks, and then I've got this cycling camp. And I had been riding, full disclosure, I'd been riding like, I don't know, 11 to 20 miles a week.
But what were you doing instead of?
Well, running. Oh, and swimming.
And swimming,
I was
right.
in a huge swim block,
Right.
yeah.
But I think that's an important piece to cover here, because you dove right into swimming because you were having some sensation with your feet. So the running was a little bit down. So you were swimming a lot and you were feeling really good swimming. You were feeling really good. And then you got to the point of like, oh, I'm swimming X amount of yardage every week. This is really good. Like I'm feeling stronger in the pool. And so then things start to shift. This comes up and then all of a sudden now that number is challenged. Oh, well, now I'm actually not hitting the swimming numbers I was hitting before. And so this is how you stay in flow. And even we have moments like this. So it's not to say you're not going to be able to swim. So it's not all or nothing. It's not 11,000 yards every week or 0. It's 11,000 yards a week for a block. And then maybe now it's more like 6,000 to 8,000. And then embracing that, knowing that you can always bump back up or even go beyond that. But the focus is going to shift because we've got the cycling tour. So now you need to get some elevation. Now you need to start climbing, get on the bike. We have punchy climbs right by here. So it's like climbing up and down, up and down. I have no hesitation that you're going to be fit. The fitness is there. It's that muscle endurance to actually turn over the pedals and crank for a long time going up, steep grades or semi-steep grades. Not everything is going to be super steep. But it's just the climbing muscles, engaging them. And we have plenty of time to really let that soak in the body and become stronger at riding hills and still running because you've got the 50K.
And so how does that, so I had this moment where I felt the clinging to the yardage number, and I was out on a bike and I was doing hill repeats. And it was like, in order for me to chase the number I wanted to chase in the pool, I would have to cut my bike short. And the choice was to let go of the yardage in the pool and stay on the bike.
But you still made it to the pool.
That day I chose not to. I stayed
yesterday.
on the bike.
It was yesterday you did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So I've already in that moment I let go of it, and I've been fine ever since as far as letting my mileage go. So how does biking more, because I went from like 11 miles a week, now I'm biking 80 to 100 miles a week, and, running probably 30 miles a week, walking another 10 miles a week. How is this biking going to benefit my ultra running?
No, it's just going to make you stronger. It's going to keep you healthy because you're not doing an enormous amount of additional pounding on the legs. You're getting just what you need. Like looking at your plan, looking at what you're running, doing hill repeats, getting long trail runs. You're doing what you need to do, but you're supplementing it with things that are going to allow you to show up at the start line healthy and without any major niggles in the body. And that's swimming and cycling. So you can gain a lot of fitness and strength from riding the bike. And it is becoming more prominent in the ultra running community. If you look at Walmsley and who's Ashley's husband?
Jason.
He's a triathlete. He did Oceanside this weekend, so I'm sure he's incorporating cycling into his FKT attempts. And it really keeps you healthy and strong and continually training. I think it's the perfect complement to ultra running. And that's not to say you can't ebb and flow and be able to bump your 30 miles a week up to 40 miles a week, or maybe even 45. But you're always going to be supplementing some weekly mileage with cycling because it's lower impact on the body. You're using obviously the torque of the pedals on the crank arms on the bike to move you up. And so, yeah, I think it goes hand in hand with longevity and health. And if you trash yourself running and chasing numbers in ultra running that you're not prepared for because you believe you need to run that in order to achieve success at the race, then you're increasing the possibility that the wear and tear in your body is really going to show up quickly and could be detrimental to race day. So someone like you is in 30 miles. Yeah, we probably want to get to 35, maybe 40 once or twice, but your sweet spot is really 25 to 35 miles an hour. That'd be awesome. 25 to 35 miles a week, and then riding 50 to 100 miles in addition to that. So that's where your sweet spot is. It could be just different for somebody else. But yeah, I know that cycling is super beneficial for the health and longevity of an ultra runner.
Yeah, I think those are my sweet spots right now at 50 years old, just right now in this block. That's kind of where my sweet spot is. So yeah, so you better believe that I got up Palomar and I'm going back to Palomar maybe next week and try and get up Palomar again before we go to Costa Rica. But yeah, we've got some amazing little punchy climbs all around here with some pretty good grades and just up, down, like everything is a hill for me right now. And it's fun. I feel strong. All right, let's switch gears a little bit. So this next topic was sparked by, I think you said Talbot Cox had posted something about Ironman getting soft. And the question posed was, is Ironman getting soft? So can you kind of set the stage for what it was that he was talking about, as we have runners and things that listen to runners and people who listen to this podcast that might not understand what that means?
Yeah, and I guess I should have looked at this more, accurately. But I believe South Africa this past weekend, Ironman and the 70.3, the swims were canceled for whatever reason. I don't know why they were canceled. I'm assuming it was obviously the conditions in the water. So I think he had a photo of it, I believe, and it was like, is Ironman, what's the deal with Ironman? Are they getting a little too, soft in the way that they judge or categorize what is a challenging swim and what isn't? And I think that played into what happened this weekend too at Oceanside, where they brought the ocean back to Oceanside. And this is the third time they've done it now in the ocean, where they were doing it in the harbor. And I think there were some comments on this weekend too at Oceanside as to whether the swim should have happened or not, just because of the height of the waves. And I experienced it myself. I participated in it. But let's take it at a high level and look at, where Ironman has come, and what their aim is, right? And that's inclusion, and that's to get as many people as they can into the sport of Ironman. And with that, there's probably going to be a diluting factor into the type of race courses that they bring onto the circuit. So whereas before, we'll go back. I know we talk about not going back, but the mass starts, getting 3,000 people lined up, and you participated in one at Lake Placid, right? One of the last ones.
Yeah, that was that was the year that they had announced it, and so I got the last. So I had two of the 4 Ironmans I did were mass starts, which I loved, but that was my perspective.
Right, and I think Ironman was created to challenge people to do something they don't know if they could do. They don't know if they can do. Anything is possible. However, I think there's an element there where there's this respect for the unknown type of challenge that Ironman is, and to do your due diligence in your training for it. So to not just show up at a race that's an open water swim and not have any open water swim practice, or showing up for a hilly bike, not being able to climb any hills, or running because you haven't, run further than 3 or 4 miles. Like there's things that as a coach, I would really love to see from athletes, tick the boxes on to begin to feel what it's like to go for 10, 12, 17 hours out there at an Ironman. And so back to what Talbot was saying was, to open this up to massive participation, something has to give. How are you going to get more people? And I guess you're getting on the fringe of the people that haven't pulled the trigger yet. They're kind of like, they want to do it, but they haven't yet decided to do one. And so there's a massive amount of people out here because you're intrigued by the unknown, intrigued by this event that everybody puts the Ironman logo tattoo on their body, and they see it and they're like, oh, well, that's pretty cool. I want to participate in that, but I can't swim, but I can't do an open water swim. And so what Ironman, this is just my take on it. Ironman has, created courses that are a little bit more easeful and more accepting for athletes to come in. Something with a flat river. You're seeing a lot of river swims being added to the 70.3 distance. And of course, lakes and rarely any ocean swims, because they're challenging. And Ironman is meant to be challenging. It's meant to challenge you. And that doesn't mean you show up on race day and be challenged. It means you wake up in the morning and you have a swim on the workout and you're like, it's cold out. I don't really feel like swimming. I'd rather stay in bed and hit snooze. That's the challenge to get you to Ironman. That's the challenge. That's it right there. This is where it begins. It doesn't begin when you get to race morning and you see the waves and the chop out there and you're like, oh boy, what did I get myself into? And so I think it's a valid question Talbot's asking, like what's going on in the sport? What's happening? What's happening with participation? And I don't know any of the numbers behind the scenes, but what's happening with what I see is athletes get to a challenging race like Oceanside or South Africa and they're almost hoping that the governing body will say on that day, the race directors will say like, no, we're going to cancel the swim because it's just too challenging. So who dictates how challenging it is? You put somebody like Sabrina in charge of that. Sabrina, the swim is probably not going to be canceled. She is an open water swimmer. She's been on the podcast twice now.
Yeah, she's the race director for Oceanside. Yeah, she's a marathon swimmer. So she's not the race director to complain about water temperatures or chop.
Yeah, and that's not to say like she would not take in the safety.
And it certainly doesn't mean she wants anybody to get hurt out there.
But she understands what goes into preparing yourself to go after challenging swims or challenging courses. So
she's a very disciplined athlete.
Very disciplined. So it starts with your commitment to the training to get yourself prepared for race day. And so I think that's what Talbot's getting at is like where do we draw the line? Who's making these decisions as to what's a challenging swim and what isn't? If you're talking the pro field, they absolutely want to swim in open water. Always they want the swim in there because it's a triathlon. They want the swim, bike, and run. Obviously, when you take out the swim element, which gives, benefit to the swimmers out there and you remove it, then we're talking about a duathlon, cycling and running. So I think it's a valid point. I think we've talked about it in years past, but what do you think? What do you think Talbot was getting at?
Yeah, I think that's what he's talking about. Like Ironman was, had back in the day was up, glory days, up like this high level. The bar was really high. And when we would sign up for these races, it was like you were locked in. I remember feeling like nauseous the first time I signed up for one because it was like not doing the training, not showing up for my decision to sign up was a non-negotiable. I knew it was going to be a mass start, and it would sell out in minutes. So there was this huge high demand for it. And there was very few people who had done it in the world. And I knew it was going to be a very tough day. And I knew that I was going to have to do a lot of physical and mental transformation in order to get to that starting line and most certainly to get to the finish line. And there's a lot of ego, I think, involved too, right? So like when I finished, it was like I kind of just put myself up on that pedestal too. Like my ego was kind of like, oh yeah, I did an Ironman, blah, blah, blah. And I remember people would ask me, you're going to get the tattoo. And I was like, no, I'll pull out that information when I need it, right? Like when I was going to one up somebody. Oh, goodness. And when they first announced that they were going to start adjusting the swim and they launched their whole swim safe program, I was off the rails mad. I was angry. I was judgmental. The fact that they were getting rid of the mass starts was such a personal offense to me. Because I thought if you can't, this is my mindset back then, full transparency, was like, if you can't do a mass start, then you shouldn't be signing up for this race. End of conversation. And so I wasn't looking at the bigger scope, which is Ironman's a business. And so what do we do as business owners or people who work for companies? You want to grow the business. So I remember I had, that experience of being angry, and I don't know, it was maybe I was big, like, Ironman's wussifying the event, and I was on that train and everything. And then I began to expand and open my mind, and I realized, like, Ironman's a business. And they have every right to expand their business. And how are they going to expand their business? They need to make the race more accessible to people. And swimming is, I don't know why, but swimming's got that thing of like, I could totally do a triathlon, but I can't swim. And then even when people do sign up, there's so much drama around the pool. Oh, couldn't get to the pool, didn't get to the pool, too much time to get to the pool, I don't want to go to the pool. Like, I don't know what the resistance is around the pool, but there's a lot of resistance around the pool. And so anyway, so Ironman, I realize, has this right to expand their business and make it more accessible. And as they're making it more accessible, they're making the swim more quote unquote comfortable. But there's nothing comfortable about swimming 2.4 miles. There's nothing comfortable about riding 112 miles. And there's nothing comfortable about running a marathon, let alone doing those 3 things in one day. So there's nothing about the distance that's easy or has been wussified or soft. But as you expand and you become more inclusive, you're going to start pulling from the ends that maybe hadn't been pulled from before, right? So you're going to get people who have unrealistic desires. They see their neighbor has done it. They're like, woo, I want to do it. So they sign up, and the idea is really inspiring and empowering for them, but they don't have the will to get the training done. So it creates actually a lot of stress and anxiety in their life, whether they're conscious of it or not conscious of it. But it's one of the desires, is like an unrealistic desire where, I'm going to join this team and I'm going to be in this community, but they're not showing up to do the work. It's an unrealistic desire. But now we're pulling that into this environment, this community, this Ironman community. So at the end of the day, it's like we can fight it or not fight it. So we can have a judgment if it's getting soft. We can have a judgment about people who are super disciplined and training, and we can have a judgment about people who are inconsistent or who are hoping and praying that the swim gets canceled. We can have judgments about all of that. We can fight it or we can not fight it. And so for me, it's, as somebody who's coming back now into Ironman, I haven't done one since 2017. I'll be doing a 70.3. And even that, like, you never called a 70.3 Ironman. An Ironman was 140.6 miles. But I'm coming back to the half Ironman distance. And I'm going to go and I'm going to be as trained as I can be. I'm going to be as healthy as I can be. And I'm going to be as competitive as I'm going to be. And I'm doing Oregon as the first one. And, I said to you, I'm like, yeah, it's going to be a fast swim because it's downriver, but that's not why I want it to be a fast swim. So if that's going to make it double my time, like doubly fast, I want it to be triply fast because I'm going to put time in the pool and I want to be a better swimmer when I show up. I'm not relying on the current to get me a better time. And some people are, and that's fine. I can judge that and I can fight that, or I can say that's for them and this is for me. So I think it's a conversation piece, but I think at the end of the day, it's fight or flow with it, either way. And I used to fight it and judge it and think that I was better than or less than, some people, but now, yeah, they have a right to expand their business. And if you're going to expand your business, you're going to invite in different people with different perspectives and different minds and strong minds and weak minds. And you can have a super fast race and not have a strong mind. You can have a super slow race and have a strong mind. So I don't know. I think it's, it's like until you walk in somebody else's shoes, and it's not for me to say what Ironman should or shouldn't do.
Right. You have it. You have the option. No one's forcing you to sign up for an Ironman. You have the option to sign up for it. Like that is, they click the button to pay it. you sign up for the Ironman. There's nobody forcing you to do it. So Ironman is doing nothing wrong. They're doing nothing wrong. They're a business. I love that. They're a business. And they've even taken it so far as this whole deferral, the whole deferral thing that happened. And I know that's saved for another day. But the whole deferral thing, like, oh, I can train, but if I'm not fit enough, I can actually defer it to the next year. And then, oh, well, it didn't work out this year, I can defer it. And so now we've gotten into this deferral mindset, which is fine because that's what they can do as a business.
Well, and, you know, if I look at it from a spiritual perspective, like Ironman is giving people the opportunity to prolong their negative karma of delaying things in their life, or say, I'm not going to defer it. No, I'm going to show up and I'm going to do what I came here to do, what I signed up to do. So, you know, yeah, I mean, but the thing is that most people don't have a strong enough mind. So they are saying like, oh, well, I'll do it. And then, you know,
I've got this out.
I've got an out, right? So I say, don't buy the insurance that says you can change the date. Why would you set yourself up for that?
You know,
why would you set yourself up for that? It's not like when you get married, okay, let's take it like when you asked me to get married and we said, okay, we're going to get married on November 29th, but let's just book another date just in case we decide not to get married on the 29th. Or
even better, I've got another woman over here, which if it doesn't work out for us, I've got one waiting just in case
you should definitely
things don't work out. I'll marry her.
Yeah, for sure. You should have a backup.
Right.
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
It just sparked, I used to sign up for races. I used to sign up for a race and then have backup races. Remember, I would be like, I'm going to sign up for this Ironman. And if I don't get qualified, I have 2 more Ironmans to qualify at. So it was like, okay, well.
So you're paying for doubt.
I'm paying for doubt. I'm paying that I'm probably not going to qualify. But not to talk about Oceanside, but Oceanside this past year, I'm like, I'm going to qualify. I want one and done. I want to get to that race. I'm going to qualify. I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know how it's all going to pan out. But this is the one race I'm focused on. I'm not signed up for another 70.3 to qualify for Worlds in St. George this year. This is it. Like, I'll just deal with this one. And so I put it all into this one. And it happened. Not how I wanted it to happen or not, how I anticipated it or expected it. But it happened because I knew it would happen. And so this is the shift in mindset of like, be all in, like give yourself the shot, give yourself a chance. And when we're talking about this Ironman, is it getting soft and bringing in all these athletes? Well, this is why there's coaches and businesses out there that will help you train your mindset. So if you have a belief that you can achieve it, we're not saying you can't achieve it because you haven't trained for the ocean swim. We're saying, great, awesome. Now you've signed up for the race. Let's work on that belief and mindset and habits that you've created in your life that are creating doubt and fear and unworthiness. And let's begin to shift that so we can get that iron mindset where we're like, okay, now we're starting to work with the water. How can I become comfortable in the water? What are the things I can do every day that are strengthening the mind to believe that this is going to be achievable? And that's where the connection happens. It's not like you can't do it. Ironman's getting soft and you're hoping the swim can't be canceled. Let's just, wash our hands of it and you'll just show up on race day and hope that it's canceled. We want to work with people like that. And we're not the only business out there. There's other businesses. So we're saying, yeah, if you feel you can do it, you can do it. And we can help you work on that belief system that will continue to move you forward so that you are sound and solid when you get to that swim start and you see the chop on the waves and you're like, I can get through this. I can do it.
Yeah. And, for so many years, we were talking about, the growth of the sport, the growth of the sport, the growth of the sport. And I think we're seeing this with ultra running too.
Growing.
The growth of the sport, the growth of the sport. Oh, but I don't like the way it's growing.
Right.
I don't like that.
But not this way.
I don't like that person that didn't do the training. I don't like this I don't like these triathletes running on my trails now, right? Like, if you want we've been trying to grow the sport of triathlon, we meaning the triathlon community, and also like trail running, and that community is blowing up. And so. And
it's merging. The two are merging.
Oh, and I love
together.
that. I love that, the triathletes are getting on the trails and trail runners are getting into wetsuits. And I think it's fabulous. Why? Why do I think it's fabulous? Because People are going after things in their life. They're setting a goal and they're showing up in whatever way that is. You know, I may show up differently than somebody else. Well, I will, and they'll show up differently than me. But it's allowing people to see what is possible and test their limits. And that's amazing. So for me, like, growth is great. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to grow and expand. And so let go of how you think it should happen, because the only one that's suffering is you, right? If I fight, like if I show up to a race and the swim's canceled, I am going to have that moment of like, oh, like when we went last night and we're out of guacamole at the restaurant.
We were going just for the guacamole and chips. Well, the burritos are good too, but we were like, guacamole and chips, this is what we want.
And there was no guacamole, and it was like, oh, okay, this is not a problem. Right? If the swim gets canceled, this is not a problem. It's not a problem. I got to release the resistance and move forward, right? Because the only one that's suffering when I fight is me. And I don't want to suffer. I want to live now, and I want to live as fully as I can. So we're here to grow and expand. I love the crossover. I love what's happening. And the only thing that I'm responsible for is how I show up, how I train, how I prepare myself, how I get out of bed in the morning when the alarm goes off. That's the only thing that matters is what I'm doing. And if there's something that I see in somebody else that's unacceptable, I need to look at where that is within me, because they're just reflecting me.
Yeah, and what's beautiful about this Ironman business is that Mike Riley, you know, is seen as the voice of Ironman. That's his very clear, unique message, is when you go out there on race day, you have one thing that you have control over, and that is how you react throughout the day. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing. How you react to all the challenges and resistance to anything that comes up. That you can control you. You can't control somebody else. And I think that's really, he's honed that message in and really like been very clear with that. And I love that. So yeah, I think it all points the finger back at us. How can we self-regulate ourselves?
Yeah. Which is training the mind. Like, we need to control the mind. What was Bob saying yesterday? Like, hold every thought captive. Hold every thought captive. And use only the ones that are going to drive you forward to what it is that you desire to realize in this life. That's it. And that is a strong, well-trained mind. Mm-hmm. And it's a practice. We can't be fighting Ironman and think that we don't have fight anywhere else in our life. Like, fight is fight.
Right.
So if you're moving from resistance, you're going to have more resistance. If you want to realize something amazing in your life, but you're fighting things or complaining or pointing the finger at people, it's going to be a road for you to realize that wonderful thing that you desire so much, when really you could just train your mind and just focus on the wonderful thing and call it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, you guys, you don't have to sign up for Ironman. If you don't like what's happening with Ironman, there's plenty of other organizations out there, and maybe it's just the swim, bike, and run that you like. And there's plenty of opportunities for that.
Well, and the cool thing is that we never thought that there'd ever be, yeah, I could say that. Like, there was a time where we're like, nothing is ever going to touch Ironman. And now there's plenty of things that are touching Ironman. So yeah, you don't have to sign up for that.
No, you don't.
Race. You can do, and you can do Ultraman. You can do extreme triathlons. You can do a 100-mile race. You can do a 5K. You can do other things.
You can do Spartan.
So if you don't like what's happening and
right.
you're not willing to release that fight, then go do something that you enjoy. Just go do something that you enjoy. So, yeah.
All right. What's next?
Well, we were going to talk a little bit about taper.
You want to dive into that?
Well, I guess the one piece that I wanted to just dive into is that, and I saw it a lot through posts on Instagram leading into Oceanside, people talking about how they hate taper, how they always get, panicked and anxious. They don't sleep well. They're this and that. And, I just, along the lines of training the mind, like, you don't have to sentence yourself to that kind of experience. You can change your mindset. And the first thing is to just notice where you are with it and make a decision to not stay the same. Because what happens is when we're feeling all that kind of strong emotion, like anxiousness, and there's nothing wrong with it, but you have a choice to stay there or not stay there, right? You can start to practice where you can be in charge of your mind. Your emotions will follow. Is emotion, we were talking about this yesterday with Bob too, is like we're emoting. It's energy moving out. It's energy moving out. So what is that doing to your race day capacity? It's draining your energy for race day. So it's a bigger conversation than just like, oh, I hate taper. I get really anxious. And like, for somebody who really wants to excel at their sport, I would recommend, I would encourage and empower you to look at that and understand that that doesn't have to be your story, that you can change that. You say that all the time, BJ, like you can write your story. That understand that if you have emotion that leaves you feeling subpar, that you are emoting, you're draining your energy, and there are very simple tools and techniques that you can use. And I would say start with the Awake Athlete podcast to begin to neutralize the thoughts, which is going to help to neutralize emotion. Start to practice being in charge of where your focus is. And you can begin to move your life in a way where it doesn't have to be high and low, right? Like it's this middle road of pure power. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. And we can dive into it deeper if anyone has questions, because I know we were talking about like, is there a time that you wouldn't taper? Do you want to touch upon that?
Yeah, I first want to just address what you were saying in that week of taper, and it gets such a bad, and it could be 2 weeks of taper. It gets such a bad rap. And I think most athletes will train and they're doing their training daily and they're engaged. But then that week comes up or 2 weeks come up, and then everything begins to get less and less and less, duration, maybe a little bit more intensity. And then they've got all this time. And so the mind, an untrained mind is not as occupied as it was before. If you're training 15, 20 hours a week and then you go down to 8 to 10, well, what are you doing with those other hours? The mind's going to start to create things. You're going to create doubt. Like, did you get in enough open water swimming and practice, right? This is exactly what happens.
But it's okay because you've got the insurance.
Right,
So you can
defer.
Only kidding.
But this is crunch time. Everything is packed into these last 5 to 7 days. And of course, things are going to be accelerated. Of course they are. You're getting to the final tippy pinpoint top of your training and fitness going into your big race. So if anything is questionable, because you always wait to do things into that final week, right? And I think this is what you're addressing. If you notice things are happening every time, you're getting panic, anxiousness, you don't like taper going into a race, change it. If you keep doing the same thing is going to keep happening. So if you pull my experience, I know I don't sleep well the night before. So what do I have control of? Well, there's a possibility my sleep could be okay, but let's ensure I get enough sleep in the 2 to 3 weeks leading into race week so that I'm not banking on that one night before the race to get good rest. Let's do all the things. And so when you have an acceptance and not a resistance to that restless sleep, and you're firsthand, because I toss and turn, or I'll have to go downstairs and sleep.
I don't know what happened. I'm like out when I sleep.
Yeah, you're out. So, but I've accepted it. I don't resist it. I accept, okay, most likely the night before is going to be restless. So if I go to bed at 8 and then I toss and turn and my eyes are wide open at 2 a.m, that's okay. By 3:30, I'm up. I need to eat breakfast, and I just move on with my process going into race morning. I'm not resistant to the fact that I didn't get my 7 hours of sleep. The mind knows that I got rest really, really good on Saturday and Sunday before the race week, and then Monday maybe a little bit, and then Tuesday and Wednesday, really good sleep. So I'm banking sleep and not allowing fatigue to rise up and restlessness and anxiousness to really get its grips on me. So I think there's things that you can look at that you don't need to repeat all the time. And I think this is what you were talking about, was be awake to this. Like, be awake to how you're feeling going into a race. Write it down, the things that you did, and then begin to change them so that when you get to taper, it's more of an enjoyable experience, because that's where you're actually resting the body a little bit more, and you're getting fitter and fitter and fitter, so that you can be at your best come race day.
Well, and I think that taper is like meditation, especially when you first begin. It shows you what's brewing under the surface. So when you have that downturn in the amount of hours that you're training, you've got more time on your hands, you're going to start to see what is normally getting processed through movement. But yeah, you can notice it, you can feel it, and you can decide that you're going to start to lean into something maybe that you desire more, or you're going to decide that you're actually pretty good where you are. You don't mind the panic or the anxiety. And you just stay there. Like, it doesn't, there's no right or wrong or anything like that. As somebody who has lived those types of feelings to a point of passing out, I didn't want that anymore. I wanted a better way to live, and I'm living it. And so I do get passionate about it, because you can change it, you know. It doesn't have to be my anxiety. You don't need to. It doesn't need to become a part of your identity.
But to address the question of whether someone needs to taper or not, we have a few athletes who don't need to taper right now, because they've been working through injury or, challenging work and life schedules. And now things have opened up a little bit. So we're not going to taper. We're going to build fitness right into a race day. And it doesn't mean they're going to do a 6-hour run before their 50-miler the next day. What it means is, we're going to keep the system cooking, keep building momentum, because momentum is everything. Momentum is what we want to really focus on, because the mind is going to remember the last few things it did. It's going to recall most recently what's in its bank. If you can see Clark here, he is so comfortable. He's on his back and his belly's up in the air. If you can see this is just awesome. But yeah, there's some people who are not going to taper. Yeah. We're going to keep pushing the envelope so that they get fitter and fitter and build momentum, and then maybe rest a day or two before the race and then hit it. Yeah. So it all depends.
Yeah, I think we kind of covered what we wanted to talk about there. But if you guys want us to dig into anything more, definitely let us know. And we're going to get wrapping this up. But being the beginning of race season, let's talk about just like where we're going to be right now as it is, where we're going to be this year for racing. Our next up is Mendocino
50K, April 23rd. Mm-hmm. We'll be up in Northern California. And then 2 weeks later, I'll be at Ironman St. George with Clark.
May 7th.
Then we'll be on the cycling. Well, you'll be in Costa Rica for the yoga retreat, May 7th, right? That's when it begins. Then we'll be on the cycling tour the week after St. George.
Maybe we'll be leading the charge.
Who knows?
We'll definitely be leading the charge on coffee. You will be. I'm not gonna try and share that. I'm really gonna
try that water bottle thing.
Share that throne with you.
So that's May. I think that's it for May, right?
Yeah, nothing until July. I think it's July 10th or 11th. We'll be at Oregon 70.3. And then August 20th is Kodiak 50K up in Big Bear that I'm running. And then 3 weeks later, we'll be in Ironman Santa Cruz, where we have a big contingency of yogi triathletes, 20 plus
athletes going to Santa Cruz.
Yep.
So if you want to jump on Santa Cruz, it's still open. If you want some coaching and be part of this amazing community, let us know. So that is September 11th.
Yep.
And then what's after that?
Then Maui, we'll leave for Maui. Maui starts on September 28th.
That's right. We'll be in Maui.
And then Ironman World Championship.
The 6th and the 8th of October.
Mm-hmm. And then Ironman 70.3 St. George World Championship.
28th and 29th.
And then Ironman Arizona.
November 20th, I want to say.
Perfect. What amazing! Wow, what a
And then most certainly we'll be at Indian Wells 70.3.
Oh, yeah.
At least spectating, if not racing, but most likely just going there to spectate.
for sure.
I think that's it for now.
Yeah, that's it. I'm not going to put anything else on my.
I think I'm full too.
I'm also, finishing a book, which, last year I did just short distance stuff, which was so great. So I'm back to like 4 a.m. mornings, like an hour working on the edits, things like that. So that's still coming along. And then season 3 of the Awake Athlete podcast is also almost there. I think I've maybe just got like one more episode that I want to record, but I'm going to include a couple meditations. One of them is that I'm going to do an interval training for the mind, which is like one of my favorite things to do. So we do that with our bodies. Why wouldn't we do that with our minds? Hello. So that's going to be coming in season 3. Hope you guys tune in for that. And I think that's it for today. Boom. We're going to smack down. Well, this is actually going to come out after the Oceanside podcast. So I won't even.
Yeah, let's just leave the Oceanside for Oceanside.
Yeah, perfect.
All right.
Peace.
Show done.